Dear friends, welcome to another fascinating episode of the Australia Today. We are joined by Filipino actor Jake Macapagal, who's the star of Paramount Plus No Escape. Jake, welcome to the Australia Today.
Thanks for having me, Amit.
Now, for those who do not know Jake, you may have seen him in Metro Manila, which ultimately ended up in Bollywood, like everything ends up in India somehow or starts from India. And most people would know Metro Manila as Rajkumar Rao's uh, City Lights. Jake, are you aware that that movie was made into a Bollywood film?
Well, yeah, I was. We were so excited. In fact, after Sundance in 2013, our director, the British director Sean Ellis, announced that it will be interpreted in India, in Mumbai, and the excitement the of the story being told and point of view from Hansal Mehta's director, a creative director perception or comprehension of the interpretation rather of the film. So that was a very exciting news when I heard about it.
Now, Jake, most people have seen you in Metro Manila. They must have seen you in Miss Saigon. You have vast experience, almost 35 years. That's 3+ decade experience on stage and screen, and you are best known for your ability to bring in the in depth that's needed to bring into the characters. So, do you have some kind of training in theater or acting?
Well, from a very young age, Amit, I think when I experienced live performance in via theater when I was in grade school, I immediately was drawn to the performance, and I thought, to myself at a very young age that that's the world I want to be able myself to maneuver at.
Mm,
And so I decided to join in a children's theater group when I was in grade
mm,
school, and I
mm,
pursued theater during high school and college. I thought it was the best way to train myself. Theater was
mm,
going to be the best way to train myself in singing, in dancing, and acting.
mm,
I obviously had bigger dreams when I was in high school and college, and the pull of the arts and the
mm,
medium was really really great. So I was dabbling into doing commercial work, meaning TV commercials.
mm,
The But I never really thought that I would be doing mainstream cinema. As you
mm,
very well know, probably in the 90s, most of the actors from the Philippines were mixed bred, or
mm,
they were half Filipino or more on the Spanish. We call them mestizo. So,
okay.
but it has changed
Mm,
tremendously. Although, so during that time, I wasn't really dreaming of being in the movies.
mm,
I would nudge my father if he knew any director, and he did know one director. His name was Danis Zialsita,
mm,
and he was able to put me in as an extra
mm,
in one of his films called Dear Heart by a very famous actress in the Philippines in 1981. So by 1981, I had my first pink slip,
mm,
which was going to be the slip to be on a movie set and be
mm,
part of it. And I had that hunger, but the odds were very difficult because I didn't think I had nobody could discover talent. Really, it's really about connection. And
mm,
by but by 1993, I auditioned for a TV network, and I was part of a children's television network,
mm,
a show which is the equivalent of Sesame Street. It's
mm,
called Awit Titik Bilang na Pambata, which is at iba pa. And that was my first taste of television.
mm,
And I was doing it every week, and I was excited, and I was part of something bigger than myself.
mm,
And but eventually, I also auditioned for Miss Saigon in uh, in in Germany, but I
Mm,
auditioned in Manila among 700 people, and I was picked. All 27 of us were picked to work in Germany when I was 28,
mm,
and for 5 years I was doing the same show, and working in Germany, and lived in Europe for, yeah, a couple of more years after that.
mm,
So that was the best time for me to really explore what I really wanted.
mm,
I eventually came back after a tour of the United Kingdom doing the same show in English,
mm,
Miss Saigon, and that's when I started to come back again, back to
mm,
zero, and really find my ground in where I want to be. And I
mm,
had the opportunity to study at the National Institute of Dramatic Arts in Sydney
mm,
by 2010, and I thought that was going to be one of my, one of the things in my bucket list that has been
mm.
ticked,
Yeah.
and I realized how much I really had, you know, I wanted to learn more, but
Mm,
because obviously I can't afford the whole course, I
mm,
just took a 8 week course, which was really fun and interesting, and I started to go back again to be active in the film industry, the independent film industry in the Philippines, which was really on a all-time high in 2006 and 2007.
mm.
Cinemalaya was is a film
Production.
festival in the Philippines, uh, which is translation is Freedom Film Festival,
Yeah.
and I was part of the industry that was helping, young filmmakers, and at the same time I was building my actors reel so that I
Mm,
could in a end up having a 2 minute or a 1 minute acting reel, so I could send this actors reel in for auditions abroad and stuff like that.
mm. So, how was your experience in Australia? Because I've been following the Australian creative industry. I've written a book on Australian cinema and culture, and one of the things that I've noticed is the so two things basically. One is the dearth of Asian or East Southeast Asian actor talent or creatives, and the other one obviously is that dearth is because of the demotivating factor that most of the, say, the white creatives do not feel that you will fit in a particular role. They are not able to see outside the box that this is Australia too. They can be an Australian policeman, investigating something, or a top-notch businessman, which obviously has changed in the last. We are talking about 2010, right? So was there any demotivation to you as well? Hey, Jake, give it up. You don't belong here. No one will give you the roles, or maybe you will end up, with minor roles somehow.
Well, I was I was very wide-eyed, and I came into the NIDA with a lot of anticipation, and really, I just really wanted to take in as much and take notes
Mm,
as well to what I'm going to learn, because it's an institution.
mm,
We were given 8 different teachers every week,
mm,
and one of the teachers, we don't have to mention his name, but I know that I could be, I was one of the older students,
mm,
and because of that, I question things. I
mm,
need to express myself, and sometimes
mm,
I don't want to point fingers, but sometimes, there's so many things going in my mind as a student as
mm,
well. Maybe that day I wasn't really, I found the lesson too much about more about his his work, or what he has done, who he has met, and
mm,
these things were adding, because coming from the Philippines, every every everything counted for me. Like the meals
mm.
I was taking when I was there, it was very
Mm.
expensive in 2010,
Yep.
even up to now, to live in Australia, and so I was thinking, I'm spending 3 hours just listening to what
Mm,
he has done, and and who he has met on the plane, like Britney Spears. And I said, why am I listening to this? What am I learning from this? What I'm learning
Mm,
from this is his excitement about meeting Britney Spears on the plane.
mm,
And so I had this interpretation that, okay, this teacher will be about his work, and because this teacher is also an actor. And
mm,
true enough, we had a little bit of a row in one of the lessons, and he blurted out that, I mean, this is Australia, you're never going to find work here. And
mm,
I had to say,
mm,
something blurred. I normally keep things. I normally do not want to have any clash with somebody, but he
mm,
did say, uh, something came out of my mouth saying that you have no idea why I'm even here. I mean,
mm,
because I thought that he had the opportunity to really get to know his students, but
mm,
because the week was spent really talking about his work and who he has met. He thought that probably I was one of the migrants or one of the
yeah.
refugees that came to the country, and I'm trying to find work. I wasn't trying to find work in
Mm,
Australia. I was a student, and I was
mm,
going to take home what I've learned from NIDA
mm,
and bring home.
mm,
But I had to apologize to my fellow students as well, because they were much younger and probably they didn't know where I was coming from. But I felt a little bit, I was discriminated upon. But
mm,
at that time, it was the biggest thing for me. But I realized too that, when I really dug deep and understood where he was coming from, I understood, because uh, the Greeks are also second class citizens probably in Australia,
mm,
and maybe he had experienced
mm,
discrimination, and
mm,
that was 11 years ago, or,
mm,
or more than that. I mean,
mm,
so 13 years ago. So things have changed. Things have moved on. A lot of conversations have been
mm,
going on since then, and there are more roles for Southeast and
mm.
Southeast Asian actors. Uh, uh, so I hope it's going in the right direction.
Jake, somewhere do you still think that, in entertainment industry, knowing people matters more than talent or merit? Where the
Yeah,
teacher was coming from, I have seen this, I've met this guy. Maybe, if you know these people, you will get acting.
well, yeah. I mean, it's really a very it's a relationship based industry,
Mm,
and no, being in the industry for more than 35 years, I just realized that people who have helped me uh,
mm,
are the people. I am where I am now because of the people that sort of like connected and helped me along the way, and it
mm,
was never a, he's a self-made man. I've never thought of
mm,
myself as a self-made man. I mean, I am where I am now is because of the people who I
mm,
have worked with,
mm,
and it is important to have the skill, but it's
mm,
also important to have the relationship, a good relationship. I
mm,
mean, but of course, when I was younger, I was
mm.
also very, I didn't want to have any enemies, and I was a people pleaser.
Yeah,
So, but I just realized too that maybe sometimes I'm keeping the wrong people in my life because
yeah,
of my own objectives. So
yeah.
as you get older, you just realize that you just want to be surrounded with people who can really, bring you to the next level,
Yeah.
or even mentally and physically and
Yeah.
spiritually.
So in terms of acting, like you were in Australia for training, you were in Germany performing, you have been to UK, to the UK, and so ultimate aim for most, almost all actors is Hollywood, to be seen and recognized by the industry. Now, one of the things that I've noticed as a researcher and journalist, particularly looking at Bollywood actors who have been working in the Hollywood, they are well established in their home country cinema. But actors who moved to Hollywood, not all ended up on the silver screen. They just ended up doing the taxi driver or the doctor, one line guy kind of thing. But in 300 series, but one line. While actors like Om Puri, Amrish Puri, or Nasruddin Shah, Irfan Khan, who was in Jurassic Park and Spider-Man, right? So these people were well-established actor in their home country. They didn't let that footing go. They didn't want. They traveled in two boats, but they had like two good boats. Do you think somewhere that your experience has taught you that if you make a name in the Filipino film industry, you will be more recognized? I think that's where your role as Colonel Justin Reyes comes in. If you were to say in Hollywood, you won't have got that chance because they would be looking at someone who is a Filipino actor established in Philippines. Do you think
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
Well, that's a very interesting question. We have, I believe, in the 21st century, we have moved into the technology is so high. I believe that, when in 2013, when we were in Sundance, I was able to meet a lot of people in the film industry and agents, and to just have a small chat with them. And obviously, a lot of Americans, I mean, not a lot of Americans, but people whom I've met who have seen the film Metro Manila were very excited and happy for me. And the first question they asked me was that, when are you moving to Hollywood? Will we see you in Los Angeles? When are you? And in my mind, I was already, thank God I was a little older. I really had to manage my expectations. I thought, why do I really need to be part of the rat race in the West or Hollywood to be acknowledged as an
Mm,
actor? Of course, I mean, it's the biggest industry in that part of the country in the United States, but I had no, I didn't really see myself as to be living in LA and really having coffee and pitching projects. I think in the 21st century, the most logical thing to do is actually do something great, or get busy in your own country, or bloom where you are planted, which I am here in the Philippines, and find my passion. And somehow along the way, you will meet international directors, or who will look for Filipino actor based in the Philippines. And I was lucky enough to have that breakthrough, so people will cast me from the Philippines. And most of the auditions I get from my rep in LA, or from the US, are are usually done in self-tape auditions.
okay.
And this is the movement in the 21st century, especially during the pandemic. If you want to
Mm,
audition, they give you the side, and then you audition
mm,
for a part. And I think I imagine that, like, even Nicole Kidman, who's made it big in America, he still is based in Australia, and
yeah.
people from Hollywood would probably cast her if she's not doing anything and bring her to America. I think that's the better way to really go about it now. If you're younger, you can follow and chase your dreams, but if you're
Yeah.
established, I think you should be open to collaborate, or you know
Mm,
to pitch films with people from the West. I think that benefited me. So when Paramount Pictures was
yeah.
looking for an actor to play Colonel Justin Reyes,
Mm,
my rep gave me an email, sent me an email and said, "Are you free from March 2022 to September? And you're going to be shooting in Thailand, and it will be a locked, you're going to be in a bubble, and create a TV series, a seven-parter series
mm,
called No Escape, or The Blue at that
mm,
time." And um, and I thought it was so ideal. I said, "Wow, this is this is a dream." I mean, people sought me out. People remember me from the work I've done, and
mm,
they connect me and to be a Filipino, and they want me to be part of a TV series. It's in my own comprehension, in my on my angle. that's it's a big thing, to be part. When I saw the bio of Colonel Justin Reyes, I was like, this is a full arc of a character.
mm,
And and to be tracking
mm,
the blue, or the yacht, from its
mm,
port in Australia, to have a cat and mouse game to play a cat and mouse game with the lead actress
mm,
in Townsville, or Queensland.
mm.
It's it's a dream, every single day that I was shooting, or when I was on set, I was like, can I just have this every single year?
Did special preparation went into create Colonel Justin Reyes, or do you identify, like, is it important as an actor to identify with the character, or is it okay for you that if you get something that you don't identify with at all as a character actor?
Well, I think it's important that you get a job. uh, but and Whatever job that is being offered to you, or that you take on, you
Mm,
realize how important that is, whether it's small or
mm,
big. But
mm,
specifically for No Escape, for Colonel Justin Reyes, it was important for me to, for me, I was joking around with the lead writer, Chris
mm,
Mirza, who is British, and I think, yeah, he's British, and he was the lead writer for the
mm,
novel of Lucy Clark. And he was saying that, he was pushing for the role of Captain Reyes, and it was important that I sort of like tweet. I sort of like He read one of my interviews, and I said, what is Captain Reyes all about, or Colonel Reyes all about? They said, in my world, it was a brown man uh, 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 fixing or the white
mm,
folk mess.
yeah.
So that's a different angle, and maybe it was only playing in my head,
Mm,
because obviously there are different interpretations
mm,
of the story. But in
mm,
my head, being in the mix of
mm,
a series of an unsolved mystery,
mm,
of a series of a white story, is unbelievable for me.
yeah.
Normally, you wouldn't see like a brown man investigating something in Australia.
Yeah.
It's
It would be the
first
other way
for
around.
Yeah, first of all, yes, it will be the other way around, and also because it's out of my jurisdiction.
Yes.
Okay, but the crime happened in the Philippines,
Yeah.
and the novel was set in the Philippines. So thank you, Lucy Clark, that the novel The Blue and No Escape was set in the Philippines. That the lead writer was able to push a Filipino character. I mean, obviously, you need representation if you're
Mm,
shooting in
mm,
Southeast Asia,
yeah.
especially in the Philippines. That's how
So,
important it is.
so if we talk about representation of the Filipino people, say on an international stage, right now you have one of the biggest stand-up comedians, right, internationally, Joki. Uh,
Jokoy.
Jokoy, yeah, yeah. So I follow him, and he jokes a lot about Filipino nurses, right? That's the
Yeah.
whole stereotypical identity that's based, just like the Indian IT guys. So I have my fair share of fixing people's computers while I was an academic. And these were
Okay.
fellow academics who would just bump into me near the water cooler or the photostat machine. And they will say, hey, my computer is not working. And I say, please, you know, I'll come and fix your computer. Usually it's the minor problem, right? But that
Yeah.
my whole identity was based on the Indian IT guys and not as a PhD guy who has a degree in South Asian diaspora. That was not relevant. That was not relevant for them to even know. Now, if we come to the second part of this question, one is the Filipino identity. How do you see Filipino identity on international stage, based on your career trajectory and based on the career trajectory of people who have come before you or who are along, struggling along with you? Second, you talked about collaboration. How do you see? So one focus of collaboration is always towards the white side, right, of the moon. let's say. But the other one is the dark side of the moon, which is Asian Bollywood, the Shanghai film industry, the Hong Kong film industry, and the Australian. I won't say film industry because we know that it's a very struggling industry. It looks up to Hollywood most of the time. But if you look at two successful industries, Filipino and Bollywood, do you see a future collaboration? So two questions here for you.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah, I do. First of all, your first question regarding the representation, or how we are pictured or how we are represented.
Mm,
Uh, uh, I do admire Joko with his talent. I do admire his. I think he had a breakthrough in producing, and his shows, his stand-up comics, all around the United States, and his attempt to create a feature film
mm,
representing Filipinos.
mm,
Um, I think we can also you can also agree with me on this, that we're always stigmatized,
mm,
because I think Jokoy, being a Phil Am, he was born and raised in the United States. His point of view, is his own lived experience, is very different from the
mm,
people who have actually lived in the
mm,
Philippines.
mm,
And sometimes it's frowned upon, because if you
mm,
are making fun of your own culture,
mm,
it is his every right to do that.
mm,
Uh, but for us, sometimes, who live in the country, first of all,
mm,
everybody does not, especially if you go on the trope of using really
mm,
hard accents,
mm,
which has been proliferated in Hollywood for the longest time, that Indians speak this way, and then Filipino nurses speak this way. But not
mm.
all, you're talking about 110 million Filipinos and millions
Yes.
of millions of Indians, the biggest, you know, uh,
Yeah,
you know, citizens of the world, along with
yeah,
Chinese people. They don't all speak that way,
yeah.
and it's sad that because maybe they needed to cater to a certain part of to some part of Americans that could be relatable, because
Mm,
Americans do love to laugh about
mm,
accents, and
mm,
an easy elementary comic, or
mm.
slapstick comedy,
Yeah.
and it has a market. I understand all that,
Mm,
but that's why it is important that we move.
mm,
In No Escape, I didn't need to put an accent. I used
mm,
my own voice, my own accent,
mm,
because I needed. It was very different. It was probably unorthodox for the British people, or for the Australians who were part of the cast. It was different, because this is the way I speak. It is not American, and this is my accent. Everybody has an accent, but it is important also that probably the world sees that, oh, Filipinos can speak that way, or there's a different way to speak English, and people who speak English as a
mm.
second language.
I think, Jake, the connection is breaking up.
Oops. Okay. Just let me know if we're back. Are we good?
Is it?
Let me know. Are we good?
Yep.
It's fine on my side. Are we back?
Yes, we are back.
Okay.
I
So,
think it was. Yep. So, and the second question, which is basically, um, so to tell our stories, do we need more collaboration between, say, Bollywood or Filipino industry and the East Asian industry, basically, or South Asian industry? You can call it anything.
yeah, I mean, well, I've always hoped that. In fact, one of the earliest time that I was following my dreams, or was really trying to chase my dreams, I was
Mm,
I was actually trying to connect with directors in India, just personal connections, like the director from City Lights. I just wanted to. I was following and researching with actors
mm,
or filmmakers in India, and I wanted to connect and audition. have the chance to audition, and maybe there will be ways to collaborate.
mm,
And but not none were responsive to to direct messages on social media.
yeah,
They must think that, I'm a crazy guy trying to find work in India.
yeah,
But I'm a very open guy, because in my own experience, people who find me on the net or in social media, who offer me something to work with me or to work with me, I give
mm,
them time. I open direct messages and say, what do you have in mind? Let's sit down for
mm,
coffee. If you're in the Philippines, let's sit down for coffee. And to attest to that, I've worked with, with people I have never worked
mm,
in young students who want to do their theses
yeah,
and who want to create a film, and I've given
mm,
them my time. So I,
mm,
I I am very open, and I think because of the world where we are moving now in the entertainment industry, and how content is very important.
mm,
I'm still trying to. I mean, India is huge, and you can see the rise of the economic power that India has become in the last couple of years.
mm,
And all India, or all the filmmakers in India, has to all they have to do is probably be open to the idea to also collaborate
mm.
with their brothers in the region,
Yeah,
or to come
mm,
out and collaborate. I'd love
yeah,
to be able to work with even Malaysian actress Michelle Yeoh
yeah.
was calling out the famous Indian actor, saying, hey, I want to work with you.
Both of
I've
you, yeah,
seen that. Yeah, and
yeah.
and and
I,
and you know,
in 2005 or 4 or 5, when I was a master's student, I was helping. I was one of the core volunteers for an Indochina Film Festival that Professor Makrant Paranjpe organized at Jawaharlal Nehru University. So we had a bunch of Chinese directors, filmmakers, actors who were part of that film festival. So film showcasing was going on, and during dinner, I told one of the guys, "Hey, how about a movie with Jackie Chan coming to India to find his true love?" And we all laughed, right? We all laughed at that stage. And it was just, I was just not mucking around as a student. You never get a chance to meet big directors, especially the Chinese one. And then suddenly I found, oh, there is a Chinese. After a couple of years, Jackie Chan did make a movie with Malika Sherawat, where he was, it was all about rebirth, yoga, and everything was introduced. So it was poorly executed, but it was Jackie Chan fun kind of movie, right? So you had
yeah,
the,
yeah, yeah.
but I said, hey, somewhere your ideas matter, right? You just need someone to, maybe they had listened to the idea, they laughed at that point, and somewhere later, subconsciously, they had this idea and they said, let's develop it,
Yeah,
right?
I
So,
mean, that's the power of manifestation. I think. I mean,
yeah,
if you have that conversation, and maybe you were joking around, and then
yeah,
somebody picks it up later on. I mean, these are all seeds that we're planting, and I hope that, if somebody is listening in the show in Australia
yeah.
today, I mean, this is something that what we should be moving in that direction. I mean,
We, we are going to tag all the famous directors. One of my beliefs is that, particularly when I look at the Australian cinema, we do not have Australian commercial cinema per se. We have a government funded Australian cinema, and these movies that are funded by government are usually selected by a jury of judges who look at the script, and these scripts are boring, to be very frank. Most scripts are suburbia, they look at jargon oriented script. Film industry is entertainment industry. It should tell a story, keep people hooked onto their seats, give actors a chance to explore their individuality as an actor. What can they bring into the stage? So one of the reasons that you do not see a big Australian industry, but on the other hand, if you see Bollywood, they are gamblers. They gamble
wow.
on stories, they gamble on people. Hollywood is the same, so Hollywood and Bollywood are made on the same, I think, in the same mold. uh,
Yes.
so they gamble on story. They are not worried about, if you look at any of the Tollywood movies, you will see the hero splitting a bullet that is coming towards him with a knife, and he goes into two directions so it doesn't hit. The hero can do anything. If you look at movies like Bahubali, they understand the
Yeah.
idea of entertainment, how entertaining a film should be, but they also understand the idea of the human plight. If you look at, if they are able to capture the in depths of Metro Manila to City Lights, and you have a range of Indian art film directors, right? So it's like, I think somewhere, if you look at the Asian people as such, we are a very complex
Yeah,
society,
yeah.
right? We
I
we
mean, please go ahead.
if
I
you
mean, for
yeah
this is a very interesting conversation. Please go ahead.
yes, so because if you look at, say, one of the things with the, say, for example, in West, LGBTIQ rights are called woke rights, right? They are wokeism. They are trying to, but if we do not see LGBTIQ rights even in, say, Philippines, India, anywhere, because the people were accepted, right?
Correct.
So
Right.
so there was no need for someone to come out on the streets with banners and say, hey, give
Correct.
me my right.
Correct.
It was the right
Right.
given to you. Your family accepted who you are, or maybe the family didn't accept. It was towards
Right.
the family. They didn't kill you for that, or they said, please go ahead, live your life, don't bother us. Two situations, there was no extreme in that. um, Similarly, in cinema, you have the two extremes, which is the really out of the box thinking, where heroes and heroines are doing, running around trees, dancing. And on the other hand, you have these filmmakers from leaning towards more left ideology, socialism, who are bringing, the plight of the migrants, plight of the workers, the factory workers to the screen. And people are accepting. There is an audience for both the cinemas, unlike, say, West, where you are tied to the what festival circuit. If you are a left or socialist filmmaker, your films will
Yeah.
only be screened in the film circuit, not in the cinema halls.
Yeah.
To
That's
be
true.
screened
That's
in
true. Oh
cinema
my
hall,
God.
yeah. So somewhere I think the Asian sense, that's where I call upon Bollywood to take over, or at least lead the way with Asian filmmakers, where we can collaborate together. And I include Indo-Pacific, Australia as well in that,
Yes.
because we
Well,
do have cinema.
that is true. I mean, talking about Indo-Pacific, I mean, when you really think about it, even you can trace the history of how the
Yeah,
language how language has evolved in Indo-Pacific. Like, for example,
yeah,
Latvian has
yeah,
Sanskrit, has basis
yeah,
in Sanskrit. Even Tagalog, or the Filipino language, has
yeah,
similar also language with base in Sanskrit. There's some words
yeah,
that are very, very similar, and then you
yeah,
want to understand, well, how did this migration really happen? What was the connectiveness? What were the collective? What did we experience as people?
yeah.
I mean, these are all interesting and things about
Like,
our parallel
yeah,
experiences.
I was in Fiji for 4 years teaching cinema and creative writing, and one of the things I realized, that they have a good number of Filipino people living there because of the sea routes. Most of their boats and still operated by Filipino workers, and but there is a Filipino village, right? So they
Yeah,
they have intermarried, and the if you look at the migration patterns into Indo-Pacific, it's through Philippines. So it's the
yeah, yeah,
Filipino people who have been your Maori people,
yeah,
and all these connections. And while you were talking about the connections between Philippines and India, I was able to picture you as, exploring India with Jake Macapagal. Right,
yeah,
this is the other side of India. We don't want the eat, pray, love kind of
yeah,
exploring
yeah,
India,
yeah,
or
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the crowded India. Say, how would you explore India if you were given a chance? If you have to pitch in a show, exploring India with Jake Macapagal, how would you explore India?
Well,
What are
first
the
of all,
key points of interest for you?
well, okay. I think this is an interesting pitch. I mean, a friend of mine was already our producer of No Escape was already pitching a project with me, but there was the project is that, so that my character, are at my
Mm,
age, and
mm,
another Japanese actor who
mm,
never really made it, who really
mm,
never really made it in
mm,
Japan, and so
mm,
I've never really made it in the Philippines. We go on a rogue trip in
mm.
Bollywood or Hollywood
Yeah.
and try to audition to Bollywood or Hollywood. and then
mm,
that takes us around the country, or
mm,
that takes us around and experience India, or the West, or the Midwest
mm.
in America. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. And
Yeah.
I think it's always very interesting to see it in a very fresh take. It's not going to
Mm,
be eat, pray, and love, because, well, the truth is, I'm an actor in my 50s. It's a
mm,
lived experience, and going in a country that you have no idea about is
mm.
something that's very fresh. It's something very fresh,
Yeah.
I mean, or finding, discovering my own route in the country.
Mm,
You never
mm.
know. You never know. I think that's a very interesting
Yeah.
pitch when you say that, a rogue trip.
Yeah. So what are the other projects that you're looking at in 2023-24 cycle?
Well, I am a very interesting project. One of them is centering about the trafficking of undocumented Filipino migrants in LA,
Ah, yeah.
and that's one of the things that I'm really excited about.
Mm.
And I can't really talk much about it,
No,
but
no, I
it's
think
it's it,
Mel Gibson has also, I think, done a recent series, but the focus always when it comes to human trafficking is towards Mexican and the Latin American side, right? It
correct,
never
correct.
you never highlight the Filipino, the
Yeah.
underbelly of the Filipino crime.
Well, yeah, I mean, which is kind of interesting, because there are undocumented Filipinos that live in East LA.
Yeah,
When you're talking about LA, not on the west, not
yeah,
West Hollywood, but on the
yeah,
east part. The east part of LA is very different from the LA that
yeah,
you know. And it's nice to explore the lives
yeah,
of the people who live there, especially
yeah.
undocumented families. So that will be something that I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to
I can
explore and
imagine
play.
you. I can imagine you in another film scenario where Jake Macapagal is your average Filipino nurse who goes to LA and has a twin brother who is a Filipino crime lord. You know, the street thug. That's a typical Bollywood twist to a Filipino lifestyle, right? And suddenly, your brother wants you to take over because he wants to go and enjoy, say, take acting
Yeah,
lessons or something, and then
that's
you
true.
have to step in now. So who's going to
That's a
train
great
you?
idea. It doesn't have to be East LA. I mean, there might be
Yeah,
undocumented Filipinos in Hollywood, in Bollywood,
maybe
in India.
we can ask Joy Coy to teach you how to be a
Yeah,
Filipino
yeah,
American crime lord or something like that. But
yeah, yeah.
so one of the things that you will see is that our stories, the Brown stories, are unending, but no one is telling them on the screen.
No one,
Uh,
no one, no one.
if you
I
look
mean,
at, yeah, go
yeah, I mean,
ahead.
there was a like last year. I was so excited about. I think it's a film. It's a series that was produced by SBS. I'm not so sure, but The
Mm,
Unusual Suspects. I don't
yes.
know if you've seen it, and
Mm,
there are a couple of Filipino actors and Filipino
mm,
stories that were that are
mm,
part of the. I was so excited because
mm,
it's an Australian TV series with
mm.
Filipino actors. This is like I know this actor. There was an old actress here, and the last role she had a breakthrough in Australia was she played the Filipina of bride.
Mm.
It was from Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and
Okay,
there
yeah.
was this Filipina mail order
The
bride.
maid to order bride. Yeah, 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 yeah. So who kicks out the man? Yeah,
Correct, but this in the 90s,
yeah,
I felt so bad that oh, another Filipina being represented that
yeah.
way.
Oh,
It
but that depresses you that it took her so long between
well,
these
yeah.
two
I
inventing
mean,
roles. She's a well
yeah.
established. She was loved for that role, and then
Well,
no.
I know of her. I don't know what happened to her career, but apparently the when I watched the Unusual Suspect, I was looking at her bio, and she's been doing musical theaters
Mm, mm,
in Australia. And I
yeah,
said, wow, she's been doing a lot of things that I've never heard of. But I was
yeah,
just happy to see her on screen, and she's a
mm,
strong actress. I'd love to be able to connect with her if you're listening. Yeah,
Mm,
I mean, it's. I think your chosen path, your
mm,
career path has been really challenging, but also very surprising and very impressive. I mean, so eventually, I want more stories about that. What I'm trying to do is, for example, like I don't know if you've heard of the Triangle of Sadness movie. Have you seen
mm.
this by Ruben Ostlund? It won
No,
the best film in the Cannes Film Festival
no,
last
I haven't
year.
seen it yet. Yeah.
So the Triangle of Sadness is a story about social status. It's like a
Uh,
so it's a story about the people on a yacht or in a boat,
uh,
but there's a social strata. The
yeah.
highest, the influencers, the billionaires are on the top, the
Yeah.
class A people, and
Mm,
obviously the one on class D are the
mm,
Filipino workers.
mm,
So the boat crashes on an island, or the boat crashes, but the currency balance changes because the one on top of the story is the Filipino
uh,
toilet cleaner,
yeah.
because none of them know how to clean, or to fish, to catch a fish. No one
Yeah.
of them know how to open fire, to create fire. So
Yeah.
everybody wanted to buy currency
Mm.
with the Filipina toilet cleaner. And then she
Wow.
comes up on top of the actress. I mean, she was nominated alongside Jamie Lee Curtis in the Golden Globes, Dolly De
Wow.
Leon, and
Mm,
and and I'm very happy for her. She's a theater actress here in the Philippines, right around my age. We've worked. We've always wanted to work together, and when the casting director from Sweden came
mm,
to the Philippines, I was part of the casting directors who
mm,
were creating rosters of Filipino actors to
mm,
submit auditionees
mm.
for the role of Abigail.
Mm.
And these stories are so interesting because
Yep.
it's possible now they're looking for Filipino characters. So I
Mm.
think India and Southeast Asian brothers, or South Asian brothers, should actually create something together. I mean, even us here, you and me having a conversation. Normally, even when Metro Manila uh,
Mm.
won in Sundance, most of the interest came from most people who want to interview me were people from America, or
Mm.
from our they were, or
Mm.
British
Mm. Mm.
interviewers.
Yeah.
But now, here, Australia today, you're interviewing me. We're collaborating on ideas. We're having fun. We're having a conversation. We're talking
Yeah.
about possibilities, and I
Yeah.
think it's interesting now that we're
Yeah.
even having this conversation.
Jake, if I have to ask you one question, what stops, in your mind, what do you think is the main reason that Bollywood is not approaching, uh, say, actors in Southeast Asia? Are they in their comfort zone just like the Hollywood counterparts, or it will go same for the Hollywood? And why is Hollywood approaching Filipinos now? Do you think they want to explore bigger markets, or they want to, like, what is the main reason, or if you would like to suggest some of the key reasons why we should do collaborations, because I'm kind of very intrigued by this. Why aren't people doing collaboration? Maybe money is not a factor because they have got good money, and they are putting that money in some of the bullshit movies that, if you look at the number of movies that flop with the similar ideas and similar themes, rather than investing it in new ideas and actually churning out something that would be helpful. Do you think, is there something stopping Hollywood and Bollywood in reaching out to Philippines as an industry?
I mean, it is a very good question, Amit. I think that question should be directed to the Bollywood producers. But
Yeah.
in my own understanding, I think maybe because of the I mean, also India also has a caste system, right?
Yeah.
And probably maybe it could be short-sightedness,
Hmm.
because we don't need being living in a big continent, or or big,
Hmm.
as big as India. You don't
Hmm.
need to look further because everything
Hmm.
is there. It could be an insular, it
Hmm.
could be, maybe they think I'm not so sure, but
Hmm.
sometimes people don't look outside because they already
Hmm.
have everything that they have. But I
Yeah.
think this is the time for really a good, uh, I would be so, it would be a dream for me to even think that I could be on a, in to be creating or shooting a film in India, maybe in the direction of like a drama of
Hmm. Hmm.
self-searching, or a comedy. It would be always good to collaborate. I mean,
Hmm.
even as a theater actor, we were
Hmm.
Southeast Asian actors from Singapore or from
Hmm.
Japan have
Hmm.
already created the first ASEAN Theater Festival back in
Yeah.
the 80s.
Hmm.
This is a collaboration and exchange of ideas from ASEAN brothers or Asian brothers, and I think there should be some sort of like a union or a
Hmm.
festival where actors really pitch projects. And I think that's one way to actually get the actors to sit down
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
explore these ideas.
Yeah. I think yep. So one of the reasons, you know, just as talking points. So one of the reasons I think, and is that because there has been a whole lot of struggle with Indian actors and directors to be accepted by the world themselves, right? They have struggled so much. So not just the comfort zone, but also that now they have become more introvert looking rather than while they, it's kind of a, I won't call it double speak or hypocrisy, but it's like while they look for acceptance outside in the Hollywood, they are not accepting the Southeast Asian or South Asian actors. Do you get the point? Like, while I want
Yeah.
others to acknowledge me, but I'm not going to acknowledge Jake. So the acknowledgement comes from, if I'm going to acknowledge, if I want Jake to acknowledge my presence or as an actor or as a director, I think then Jake will acknowledge it as well, right? So it's a two-way street. That's one
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
that
yeah.
Bollywood needs to understand, that you can't go out into the world and tell the Hollywood people, please accept us, and while we are not accepting the Filipino actors or others. Those stories are endless. And the other thing is that I think the in the last couple of years with the Goa Film Festival, the big the film market
uh,
that happens in Mumbai, it has opened up. I think somewhere um, more and more, I'll encourage more and more Southeast Asian directors, actors to go and pitch in their work there. Um, I know a lot of industries have lost because they don't go um, to the film markets, right? So Fiji wanted people to come and make movies there, but while they were not going to any of the market to pitch themselves. So this is something that I think we need to explore as well, that how many, like, can you put together a bunch of Filipino actors, directors and say, hey, let's go to Mumbai and meet a few people there.
Oh yeah,
uh,
definitely. I mean, listen, Amit. Just to wrap. I know that this is a great conversation. I've been open about those things. If people want to explore those ideas, I can think of bunch, maybe
yeah.
take 10 people with me and go to Mumbai and
Yeah.
really explore these ideas in person. I mean, these are things that I've been wanting to do this since 2013, because
Yeah.
India is closer to the Philippines than Hollywood.
Yeah. Now, just wrapping up, this very interesting conversation. How do you see yourself in the next, say, 5, 10 years as an actor? Do you see yourself directing behind the camera as well?
Well, this is very something that I want to share with you, because I am known to be part of the film industry here as an
Mm,
actor, because
mm,
it could be very insulating if you just live in the
mm,
archipelago. They see you as a Filipino actor, you're only going to be an actor. But I've been exploring and I
mm,
wanted to learn more about the filmmaking, and I know that if you want to be a director, I think I'm a director's director. I can really work
mm,
on really putting up the emotions of the actors, and I can see
Mm,
and I can see a bigger picture on how the story could be elevated
mm,
or could be told. But I need to work with a fantastic DP, because creating and having
mm,
that relationship with how the angles or how my treatment will be could only work if I work with a fantastic cinematographer. So I could see myself going in this direction, but at this time I'm really
mm.
opening doors, and really want to explore the ideas of more collaboration with our Asian brothers, Southeast Asian brothers and South Asian brothers.
So this was well-known Filipino actor Jake Macapagal, the star of Paramount Plus No Escape. Jake, once again, thank you so much for your valuable time and insights into the workings of film and entertainment industry. It's been a
Thank you
pleasure
very much.
interviewing you.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for being your show in the Australia Today, Amit, and wishing you the best of luck. And I just want to thank you for everything.
Thank you.